I'm Thomas LeRoy, founder of the sect of the Worm God. Now, when I was a kid, basically 12, 13, whatever, maybe younger, after church, and yes, I went to church when I was a kid, I would, every Sunday, I'd hop on my bike and ride the 2 or 3 miles or whatever it was to the San Francisco Zoo. Now, I had an obsession with animals, specifically apes. I don't know what it was about apes. Maybe the fact that they were so closely related to us. I found it fascinating. Or maybe it had something to do with the Planet of the Apes movies. I don't know. But anyway, there was this grotto with chimps in it. Now, if you've seen full-grown chimps, they're pretty big, they're pretty impressive. What you see mostly on TV are young, basically 2-year-old, whatever, young chimps. A full-grown chimp is a very impressive animal. Now, the alpha male of this family in this grotto was this big hairy guy. And what he would do is he would pace back and forth, hooting and hollering, and swinging his arms in the air and jumping up and down, and he would go back and forth and back and forth, and people would begin to gather, and they would go up to the rail, because there would be a rail and there would be like a hedge, and then there's this moat, and then there's the grotto with the chimps. Anyway, that guy, that big old alpha male, he would just pace back and forth, and he would get louder and louder, and pretty soon more and more people would gather. But while he was doing that, while he was pacing back and forth, he was reaching down, scooping up handfuls of shit, and he would pack them in his hand. And he would keep progressing. He'd keep going back and forth, grabbing more shit. And also what he would do, since San Francisco Bay Area is very humid, a lot of fog and so on and so forth, he would scrape the moss off the rocks or whatever, and he'd pack that in with the shit. And he'd pack it in tight as he's pacing back and forth. And people were basically oblivious to the fact, I got the impression, at least they were oblivious to the fact that he was packing the shit in his hand. Because he was flipping his arms in the air and so on, at least his one. While the other one, he was squeezing that shit. Well, finally, when enough people would be gathered, he figured there was enough of a crowd. He would work himself up into a fevered pitch, and then when he reached his crescendo, he would fling that shit underhanded, and it would skim off the top of people's heads, and then I swear to God, that son of a bitch would start laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing he ever saw. Now, what does that chimp symbolize? Well, he's Donald Trump, of course. It kills me, all you people that get so upset about him. He's a shit-flinging chimp. That's all he is. That's all politicians are. That's what they all are. They're just shit-flinging chimps that make a whole lot of noise. You come up and watch them. You either critique them or fall in love with them or whatever, while they pace back and forth, making noise. And as they're making noise, what are they doing? They're snatching up shit. And what do they finally do? They take that shit and they fling it at you. And you take it. And you know what's going to happen. You can see it. You can see them gathering the shit. Still you fall for it. What's going on is people too often try to find wholeness or happiness or fulfillment or whatever you want to call it in others instead of looking at themselves. They have this wild misconception that if so-and-so becomes president, everything will be fine. I remember before Obama became president, there were people that were insisting, oh, now my home's going to be paid for, and I can live off Obama money, and so on and so forth. Not realizing that true contentment isn't looking outward at someone else to give it to you. It's looking inward at yourself at you to make the changes in your life. Quit falling for these fucking chimps. Goddamn, the political season is just starting here in America. And too many of you falling for these poop slinging chimps. You know what's gonna happen? You're just gonna get fucking nailed with some shit.